In the darkest hours of World War II, a shadow war was being waged, not on the battlefields of Europe or the islands of the Pacific, but in the hidden laboratories and secret cities of America. This is the story of the Manhattan Project, the most audacious and terrifying scientific gamble in human history, a race against time, a race against the Nazis, and a race to build a weapon so powerful it could end the war and change the world forever. What if I told you that a single letter penned by the world's most famous scientists kick-started a secret project that would cost $2 billion and involve over 100,000 people, all sworn to in secrecy so absolute many didn't even know what they were building until the very end? Our story begins not in America, but in Germany. In 1938, two chemists, Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann, stumbled upon a discovery that would send shockwaves through the scientific community. They had split the uranium atom. This process, known as nuclear fission, released a tremendous amount of energy. Scientists across the world, including the brilliant Italian physicists Enrico Fermi and the Hungarian-born Leo Szilard, immediately grasped the terrifying implication: a chain reaction. If one splitting atom could trigger others to split, the energy release could be harnessed into a bomb of unimaginable power. As Hitler's armies marched across Europe, Szilard and other refugee scientists in America grew increasingly alarmed. They knew German scientists were also aware of fission's potential. The thought of a Nazi atomic bomb was a nightmare they couldn't ignore. But how to warn the American government? A government that was still officially neutral in the war. They needed a voice that couldn't be ignored. They turned to the most respected scientist alive, Albert Einstein. In August 1939, Szilard drafted a letter, and Einstein, understanding the grave danger, signed it. The letter was delivered to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, warning him of the possibility of extremely powerful bombs of a new type. Roosevelt was a man of action. He famously remarked, "This requires action," and formed a small advisory committee on uranium. The seeds of the Manhattan Project had been sown. For the next 2 years, progress was slow. The concept of a nuclear bomb was still largely theoretical. But in 1941, two crucial events accelerated everything. First, British scientists in the Maud Committee confirmed that a uranium bomb was not just possible, but feasible to build within a few years. Their report was a wake-up call. Second, the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, plunged the United States headfirst into World War II. The theoretical danger was now an urgent, existential threat. The race was on. The small research project was transformed into a massive industrial and scientific endeavor. In 1942, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers took control, and the codename Manhattan Engineer District was born, later shortened to simply the Manhattan Project. To lead this colossal undertaking, the government chose a man who was both a brilliant theoretical physicist and a charismatic, driven leader, Robert Oppenheimer. He was tasked with directing the scientific heart of the project. For the military and logistical side, they appointed General Leslie Groves, a demanding and incredibly efficient engineer who had just overseen the construction of the Pentagon. The two men were polar opposites: the thoughtful, intellectual Oppenheimer and the gruff, pragmatic Groves. Yet their partnership would be one of the most effective in history. The project was a sprawling empire of secrecy. 3 secret cities, virtually overnight, rose from the ground. In Oak Ridge, Tennessee, a city of 75,000 people was built to enrich uranium, painstakingly separating the rare fissile isotope U-235 from its more common cousin in Hanford, Washington. Another massive complex was constructed along the Columbia River to produce a different fissile material. Plutonium, an element that barely existed in nature. Workers at these sites toiled around the clock, operating complex machinery they didn't understand, processing materials they couldn't name. They were told their work was vital to the war effort. And that was all. "Don't ask what you're doing," was the mantra. A slip of the lip can sink a ship. But the scientific soul of the project resided in a remote, breathtakingly beautiful location. A mesa in the high desert of New Mexico. This was Los Alamos. Oppenheimer chose a site, a place he knew from his youth. Here, a who's who of the world's greatest scientific minds gathered. Nobel laureates like Enrico Fermi, Richard Feynman, Hans Bethe, and Niels Bohr lived and worked in this isolated, militarized camp, a collection of muddy streets and hastily built structures. They were united by a single, terrifying goal: to design and build the atomic bomb itself. They called it the gadget. The challenges were immense. They were working on the frontiers of physics, dealing with concepts and materials never handled before. They had to calculate the critical mass needed for a chain reaction, devise a way to bring the fissile material together at the precise moment, and design a casing that could withstand the incredible forces of the explosion. 2 distinct bomb designs emerged. One was a relatively simple gun-type design, which would fire one piece of enriched uranium into another to achieve critical mass. This design, nicknamed Little Boy, was so straightforward in principle that the scientists were confident it would work without a full-scale test. The second design was far more complex. It used plutonium, which was easier to produce than enriched uranium, but was also highly unstable. A gun-type mechanism was too slow. The plutonium would pre-detonate fizzle. So, the brilliant minds at Los Alamos, including the physicist Seth Neddermeyer, devised a radical solution: implosion. They would surround a sphere of plutonium with precisely shaped high explosives. When detonated, the explosives would create a perfectly symmetrical shockwave, crushing the plutonium core into a critical mass. This was an incredible engineering challenge. The timing had to be perfect down to the microsecond. This design was nicknamed Fat Man. Its complexity meant it had to be tested. The site chosen for the test was a desolate stretch of desert in southern New Mexico, which Oppenheimer poetically named Trinity, inspired by a John Donne sonnet. On July 16, 1945, in the pre-dawn darkness, the world's first atomic bomb was hoisted to the top of a 100-foot steel tower. The scientists, watching from bunkers miles away, were a bundle of nerves and anxiety. They had wagered everything on their calculations. What would happen? Would it work? Would it be a dud, or would it be more powerful than they could ever imagine? Some even harbored a remote, terrifying fear that the explosion might ignite the atmosphere and destroy the world. At 5:29 a.m., the bomb detonated. The result was beyond anything they had ever conceived. A flash of light brighter than 1,000 suns illuminated the desert, turning night into day. A stupendous fireball rose into the sky, morphing into the now iconic, terrifying mushroom cloud that climbed 40,000 feet. The heat could be felt miles away. The shock wave knocked men off their feet. The steel tower was vaporized. The desert sand was fused into a green radioactive glass, later named trinitite. The reaction among the observers was a mixture of awe, relief, and profound horror. General Groves was elated. The project was a success. Oppenheimer's reaction was more complex. As he watched the terrifyingly beautiful spectacle, a line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, came to his mind. "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The scientists had succeeded. They had unleashed the power of the stars on Earth. But in doing so, they had opened Pandora's box. The atomic age had begun. With the Trinity test a success, the decision of how and when to use the bomb fell to the new American president, Harry S. Truman. The war in Europe was over, but the war in the Pacific raged on. An invasion of Japan was planned, an operation that military leaders predicted would cost hundreds of thousands of American lives and millions of Japanese lives. To Truman, the bomb seemed like a way to end the war swiftly and save those lives. The order was given. On August 6, 1945, the B-29 bomber Enola Gay dropped the little boy uranium bomb on the city of Hiroshima. 3 days later, on August 9th, the Fat Man plutonium bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. The devastation was absolute. The two cities were leveled, and over 200,000 people were killed, either in the initial blast or from the horrific effects of radiation in the weeks and months that followed. On August 15th, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's unconditional surrender. World War II was over. The Manhattan Project stands as a monumental achievement of science and engineering, a testament to what humanity can accomplish when faced with a common threat. But it also serves as a chilling reminder of our capacity for destruction. It ushered in the nuclear age and the Cold War, a period where humanity lived under the constant shadow of annihilation. The scientists who built the bomb were forever changed. Many, including Oppenheimer, became outspoken advocates for international control of nuclear energy and warned against a nuclear arms race. Their creation had ended one war, but it had also defined the terrifying stakes for all future conflicts. It was a secret that changed the world, leaving a legacy of power, fear, and a profound question that we still grapple with today. How do we live with the fire we stole from the gods? The story of the Manhattan Project is complex, filled with brilliant heroes and tragic consequences. It's a pivotal moment in our shared history. What are your thoughts on this incredible chapter of the 20th century? Do you think the use of the bomb was justified? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this journey into the past fascinating, please give this video a like, share it with someone who loves history, and make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. Thanks for watching.
If you love uncovering the truth, don't forget to subscribe. More hidden history is coming every week, only on History Uncovered.